Alright, let's get down to brass tacks. History has a funny way of remembering firearms. You got your superstars that everybody knows, usually because they showed up at the right war at the right time. Then you got the ones that just missed the boat. But here is the cold, hard truth from downrange. There is a whole class of semi-automatic rifles that never got the respect they actually earned on the firing line. We are talking about platforms that were dead nuts reliable, battle-tested in some absolute hellholes, or engineered with features that were decades ahead of the curve. These aren't just museum pieces to hang on the wall and gather dust. Some of these rifles were humped through the jungle by U.S. Marines. Others put meat on the table for generations of serious American sportsmen. And a few of them? They carried the actual mechanical DNA that shaped the modern rifles we are running today. If you are the type of shooter who wants to know the why behind your gear, or if you appreciate a sleeper that punches way above its weight class, you need to pay attention to this list. Let's break down 8 semi-auto rifles that deserve a whole lot more credit than the history books ever gave them. Number 8. The Jonhson M1941. Everybody knows the M1 Garand. It is the undisputed heavyweight champ of World War II. But standing right in its shadow and frankly getting ignored was the Jonhson Model 1941. Let me tell you, this rifle had some serious advantages under the hood. First off, ditch that 8-round en-bloc clip. The Jonhson ran a 10-round side-fed rotary magazine. Why does that matter in a fight? Because you could top that mag off with loose rounds or stripper clips anytime you wanted. You didn't have to wait for the ping to reload. When you are taking fire, being able to keep that gun topped off is a massive tactical advantage. It also featured a quick-change barrel system. We take that for granted now on modern squad automatic weapons, but back then? That was science fiction on a standard infantry rifle. It ran on a short recoil operating system, meaning the barrel actually reciprocated backward with the bolt to unlock. It worked, but it made the rifle a little finicky if you hung heavy accessories on the barrel, and it had more small parts than the Garand. So, what killed it? Logistics. By the time the Jonhson was ready to rock, the U.S. Ordnance Department was already fully committed to the Garand. They weren't going to stop those assembly lines to retool for a second standard rifle. But it still saw combat. Elite units like the Marine Raiders and the Paramarines took it into the Pacific, and a lot of those guys preferred it because of that higher capacity. Its real legacy, though, is in the bolt design. Melvin Johnson's multi-lug rotating bolt concept? That went straight into Eugene Stoner's brain when he was working on the AR-10. That bolt design carried right over to the AR-15 and the M16. So every time you rack the charging handle on your modern sporting rifle, you are feeling a little bit of that Jonhson DNA. Today, they are high-dollar collector items, but if you ever get a chance to run one, it feels shockingly modern for a wood and steel gun from the 40s. It never dethroned the Garand, but it absolutely deserves a salute. Number 7. The Daewoo K2. If you bring up the Daewoo K2 at your average local gun store, you are mostly going to get blank stares. And that is a crying shame, because this South Korean service rifle is practically the definition of a hidden gem. Think of it this way. It takes the superior ergonomics of the AR-15 and smashes them together with the bomb-proof long-stroke gas piston of an AK. Under the handguard, it is running dirty and reliable just like a Kalashnikov. But when you put it to your shoulder, the safety selector, the magazine release, the bolt catch, it is all right where an American shooter expects it to be. It is chambered in 5.56 NATO, feeding from standard Stanag magazines, so it fits right into standard Western logistics. The Republic of Korea military has been running these things hard for decades, and they just work. One huge plus over a standard AR, it has a factory side-folding stock. You don't need a goofy adapter because the recoil spring is up in the receiver, not back in a buffer tube. That makes it incredibly handy for vehicle ops or stowing in a tight space. Why isn't it famous here? Bad timing. By the time the K2 tried to make a splash, the AR and AK had already totally saturated the market. Plus, imports got choked off later on, making them scarce. But I am telling you, if you get behind a K2, you are going to wonder why we didn't buy more of them. It is a serious, combat-proven rifle that just never got its fair shake in the States. Number 6. The Remington Model 8. If we are talking about the granddaddy of them all, the rifle that really proved semi-autos could hunt, we have to talk about the Remington Model 8. This was another brainchild of John Moses Browning, released way back in 1906. Think about that. Over 100 years ago, you could walk into a hardware store and buy a reliable, powerful semi-auto rifle off the rack. It used a long recoil system. When you pull the trigger, the barrel and the bolt lock together and ride all the way to the back of the receiver like a pogo stick before separating. It is a bizarre feeling if you are used to modern gas guns, but man, it worked. It was chambered in proprietary rounds like .35 Remington, which was a serious thumper for deer and black bear in the thick woods. Law enforcement loved this thing too. It gave them rapid fire capability way before the submachine gun was common. The most famous Model 8 broke bad down in Louisiana. Texas Ranger. Frank Hamer used a modified Model 8 in .35 Remington to finally stop Bonnie and Clyde. That right there should have made it a legend. It faded out because those proprietary cartridges got hard to find, and newer, cheaper designs took over. But make no mistake, the Model 8 was the trailblazer. Every semi-auto deer rifle in the woods today owes it a debt of gratitude. Number 5. The Heckler and Koch G3. In the US, we all know the FAL as the right arm of the free world, but the H&K G3 was just as widespread and, in some ways, even tougher. This is German engineering at its most utilitarian. It is chambered in .7.62 NATO, a full-power battle rifle cartridge meant to punch through barriers and drop bad guys at distance. The magic here is the roller-delayed blowback system. It doesn't use a gas piston. It uses mechanical rollers to keep the action shut until pressures drop to a safe level. Because of that, the G3 has a very distinct, sharp recoil impulse. It doesn't push you, it snaps at you. But the trade-off is absurd reliability. This thing will eat absolutely any ammo you feed it, and it will violently eject that brass into the next zip code. It is heavy. The ergonomics are a little blocky. But when you need a rifle that will absolutely run no matter how much sand or mud you dump in it, the G3 is a beast. It stayed in service all over the world long after others retired because you could modernize it easily with rails and collapsible stocks. It might play second fiddle to the FAL in the history books, but on the ground, the G3 was a serious heavy hitter. Number 4. The FN-49. The FN-49 is often called the last honest-to-goodness old-world battle rifle. Fabrique Nationale built this right after World War II, intending it to be the standard rifle for all of Europe. The quality is insane. Machined steel, beautiful walnut stocks, it is built like a Swiss watch. It ran a tilting bolt gas system that was smooth and reliable, and FN offered it in whatever flavor you wanted. 7x57 Mauser, 3006 Springfield, 8mm Mauser. So why did it fail to take over? It showed up about 5 minutes too late. By the time it was ready, the world was already moving toward select-fire assault rifles and standardized cartridges. It ended up serving in places like Egypt, Venezuela, and Luxembourg, but it never got that major power adoption. Collectors call it the missing link between the old bolt actions and the modern FAL. If you ever get a chance to shoot one, do it. It is a smooth, classy rifle that just had rotten timing. Number 3. The Winchester Model 100. In the 1960s, if you were a deer hunter who wanted a semi-auto, Winchester tried to woo you with the Model 100. This was a sleek gun. It didn't feel bulky like some of the military-derived rifles. It handled fast, just like a good lever action. It came in excellent short-action cartridges like .308 Winchester and .243 Winchester. Hunters who used them loved them. They were accurate enough for woods ranges and looked great in the gun rack. But Winchester made a fatal error. They didn't offer it in .3006, which was still the king of the deer woods back then. Remington ate their lunch with the Model 742 because they did offer the long-action .3006. Later on, there was a firing pin recall that scared some folks off, and the reputation never quite recovered. But today, a Model 100 in good condition is a sweet-shooting classic hunting iron that deserves way more respect than it gets. Number 2. The MAS 4956. We don't often look to France for premier battle rifles, but the MAS 4956 is a serious exception. This was their main battle rifle before they switched to the FAMAS bullpup. It is a rugged, no-nonsense fighting tool, Mechanically, it used a direct gas impingement system, similar in concept to what Stoner did later, but simpler. It tubed gas straight back to the bolt carrier, keeping the weight down and the parts count low. It was chambered in 7.5 French, which is a great cartridge, ballistically similar to a .308. The problem? Nobody else used that round. It never became a NATO standard, so the rifle was logistically isolated. But if you find one and some good surplus ammo, these things are surprisingly accurate and very soft shooting for a full-power rifle. It is tough as nails, simple to maintain in the field, and just works. It got overshadowed by the politics of NATO standardization, not because of any mechanical failing. Number 1. The Ruger Mini 14. Since the mid-70s, the Ruger Mini 14 has been the quiet professional in the corner. While the AR-15 was getting all the glory, and all the controversy, the Mini 14 was riding in farm trucks and patrol cars across America. Bill Ruger essentially shrunk the M14 action down to handle the .223 Remington cartridge. You get that ultra-reliable Garand-style rotating bolt and a self-cleaning fixed-piston gas system. It has a traditional wood stock profile that doesn't scare non-gun people the way a black rifle does. That is huge in states behind enemy lines with strict ban lists. The Mini often flies under the radar while still giving you 30 rounds of 5.56 on tap. Now, the older ones had skinny pencil barrels that would heat up and start stringing shots vertically after a mag or two. That hurt its rep for a while, but Ruger fixed that years ago. The new ones have thicker hammer-forged barrels that are plenty accurate for defensive work or coyote hunting. It is not an AR, and it doesn't try to be. It is a rugged, dependable ranch rifle that has held the line for 50 years. That's my list of 8 semi-autos that history shouldn't have slept on. It just goes to show that sometimes the best gear isn't the stuff on the magazine covers. It's the stuff that just quietly gets the job done year after year. Now I want to hear from you guys down in the comments. Which one of these do you think got the rawest deal? Or did I miss a sleeper that belongs on this list? Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this one, do me a solid. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell so you don't miss the next video. Until next time, stay safe and keep training.